efficient. I'm a big sleepy baby right now, so I'm probably gonna go to bed early-ish and then just make a long day tomorrow, since tomorrow I have off. By off, I mean I have a whole lot of things I need to get done that just don't entail work. They are work, and it's even work I'm hopefully gonna get paid for, but I don't have to leave the house, so that's nice. Lord knows I love just tucking myself away inside. Okay. I'm going to do these 3 oracles, and I'm going to do a couple tarot with each of them. Just one. Oh, these are really... Okay. They're just popping right out. Okay. So this is this, this is this, this is this. This is the yes. The yes. This is like the yes. And then this is going to be like this. And then we're going to do a little bit of this like this. Should I do this in a southern accent? Alright guys, this is Southern Tarot with Jam. This is not actually tarot at all. They just happen to be tarot cards. I'm just going to do a little oracle reading off of them. These are actually oracle cards, so who knows what I'm talking about, but it's fine because I'm saying it with a southern accent, so it doesn't really matter what I say. All of it sounds so good. That's like a Tennessee accent, I suppose, which is cool. It's classy, and I love it, and everything sounds good in it. But I tell you what, give me a man with a Texas accent, and I'm like, that's what I'm like. Love that shit. Alright, that's completely unrelated. Let's get into an actual reading. So, our first card is Destiny Absence. Real neat card. It's interesting because, like, the first vibe that I even got from it is like, well, I mean, because it's destiny. It's absence. There's a void in each of the hands. Also, they're backwards. They're actually like this. Somehow. That's why it looks so interesting. Backwards. That'll probably come into play later. Okay, it's like 2 lovers that are apart right now, but that's part of their destiny, is this absence. It's necessary for their growth. In a different way that's not romantic, I'm getting like a willingness to step away from certain endeavors when it feels that that's what the universe is requiring of you or requesting of you, under faith that, you know, absence makes the heart grow fonder, that like if it's really meant for you, it's not just gonna leave. It'll be there in a different time when the time is right. And trusting the universe, trusting to move with the universe with whatever it asks, knowing that that's part of your destiny. Directly underneath that, clarified, we have the 8 of Wands in reverse, which I recently heard someone mention the Eight of Wands as being like a symbol of swiftness, which I do believe is actually what it is in the Hermetic Tarot that I have. I always see it as a sign of like deliberation, intention. It's like casting all of your passions and your desires and intentions in one specific direction, having everything in alignment that way. But it's also supposed to be a sign of swiftness and like just general movement forward. And in the reverse, I'm getting it being like, it's particularly because in this position, it's underneath absence. I'm getting it being like, can you see this card? Yeah, this is the one I'd be talking about. This one doesn't show up very well on camera. But it's talking about being patient. Just kind of being in a state of pause. And letting that cultivate desire within you. Like I said, like distance makes the heart grow fonder. Letting it, cultivate your desires. I'm like a perfect example of those things too, because I will double down on my love and affection for something, on my desire for something, on my technical obsession with something, and the longer I go without it, the more it's like, oh, I guess I don't actually need it. I'm fine. Which is a great thing. It's great to be able to go without things and then be like, oh, I guess I'm okay. But at the same time, like, it's also a reminder that like a lot of the things that I put my affections towards aren't necessarily right for me or true for me, and I tend to like do this dumb codependent thing where I like trick myself into believing that because I have such strong affections for something, such strong feelings, such a strong connection, that must mean it's part of destiny, when this is a reflection that destiny is often within the absence of things, not this codependent having to cling to things in order to make them valid. You wouldn't have to do that if it were truly valid. What that actually is fear, and not what I'm trying to give my energy to. And so I've actually read the Eight of Wands that way in the upright, that like this idea of like throwing all of your wands in the same direction is almost like throwing everything you got at one thing, hoping that something sticks, mostly because you're afraid of missing out on that thing or losing that thing. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You can trust that what's meant for you will be yours. Okay, because these came out this way and because I put the other cards under these ones, what I'm getting is to go to the oracles first and then to come back to the second cards, that are under these cards. Bring it all together. Okay. Mount of Luna. We had this the other day. Okay. In the reverse, again. And it's above the Chariot in the upright. Okay, what I'm getting from it right now is that it's like, because it's in the reverse, it's not talking about coming into a certain community, connection, social, anything. It's not about like having to tie yourself to your soul tribe that way. or like even longing for that, because this card also speaks on intuition, and because it's in the reverse, I'm getting that it's like just learning how to take things at face value first. Kind of moving away from the idea of commitments, or the idea of like, okay, because I'm establishing this thing, then that means that like this thing must be established, when like really just let it be and take the time to kind of step back and look at things and really see what they are and take them for what they're worth. Feel your feelings, but learn how to separate them from reality in a way where like you don't let your feelings dictate what you know to be best. Don't let your emotions get the best of you, right? The Chariot is a sign, obviously, of motion, forward motion, but it's also a sign of balance. And every time I see this card, I don't even see them like moving. And the Rider White, obviously, it's like very stationary looking. And it's almost this idea of considering prior to moving. Like, yes, we're moving forward, and yes, we're moving in a specific direction. But like, make sure that you're taking everything that you've learned and everything that you know and balancing those things out in order to drive you. Not just throwing care to the wind and running around a campfire and with your titties out with a bunch of other women. Which is all great and good. Don't get me wrong. But like, it's not about that. It's about taking things exactly as they are and letting that cultivate something deeper within you. In the same way, it's like embracing the void, embracing this sense of absence, that there's a balance, that there's a reason that things are separated, and it's in the separation that there's such a joy and pleasure in coming together. So it's okay for things to take time. The smoke in this image is also really standing out to me. Smoke, sorry, here from the fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I always hear that, where there's smoke, there's fire, but then I also hear people being like, you don't want this smoke. Which I guess is because, like, you don't want, what does that mean? Because you don't want the fire? But then people have told me that I'm a smoke show. And that's a compliment. And I'm like, isn't that just like a giant illusion? What, you think I'm the Wizard of Oz or something? What are you trying to say, bud? Me getting all suspicious over a top-notch compliment. The smoke will come in later, I guess, too. Okay, the next card that we have is flexibility in the upright, which I feel like I just showed an example of. You know, there's things that you recognize and they resonate with you, but that doesn't mean that you have to immediately attach to them. Be flexible enough to say, well, I assume that'll come up later. It's not hitting right now, so it must not be for right now. I'm okay not knowing. I'm okay not fully understanding something. I'm okay not having to fully embrace everything all the time. I'm okay being flexible. I'm okay being slightly uncomfortable in order to reach my goals. Maybe that's in part with the balance with absence, but it's also Yeah, I'm flexible. Like I said, like you don't have to, it's not about right now. It's not necessarily about binding yourself socially. And it's not even about like trust. It's not to never trust your intuition. Like it's not like always trust your intuition. But we're not talking about being so given to that as much as we're talking about being given to recognizing things for what they're worth at face value. But even in that, it's saying be flexible. Maybe the roles and positions and ideas that you've had for whatever it is that this is resonating with you about. Maybe the roles or positions that you've had have not been within your best interest. Maybe they aren't meeting your greatest needs. Maybe there's something else that you can do that's better or that has less conflict involved with it or like comes with less drama. Being flexible is what's going to allow you to be able to maneuver through those things. It's interesting that they have a crane for flexibility. I don't see them as a particularly flexible animal, but sorry. In the way that they're being portrayed here as flexibility, I'm seeing like, well, in part their legs, those long legs, have this flexible quality, but it's also like they fish in the water, but they live on land, and there's this adaptability. Flexibility and adaptability are a bit different. The way that it's being portrayed here, though, is resonating with me as adaptability. Underneath it, it's being clarified by the Hierophant in the upright. And it's interesting because in the Adventure Time deck that I have, I saw the Hierophant card the other day, and it like blew my mind. It was very, very deep for me, but particularly because the Hierophant is holding, he's a lemon character, he's like made out of a lemon, but he also has a lemon in his hand that he's squeezing all the juice out of, and in his other hand he has a flaming lemon peeler, and that really just struck me, like that was a great metaphor for like religious dogmatism. And so now I'm like thinking about the comparison of them, and like this Hierophant like has his power fingers up, and then he's also holding a cross, a scepter. I don't know what they call them in the church, but it's essentially a scepter, but it has a cross on it. And what, I'm getting like that as the lemon peeler. Well, the cross is the lemon peeler gets down to your core, and is kind of a sadistic tool of your refinement, as is the cross, where this is the power of your will. This is your will being in alignment with God's. And, what is it? God's honor, right? Something like that. But that's what the symbol generally stands for, at least to some degree. But thinking of that lemon being squeezed is like there's being broken down for God or for the universe, and then there's being used a very specific way for that. Flexibility. A willingness to be used however it is that is truly meant for you. It's not really about your feelings or your comfort. It's about who you are as a person, the skills that you have, the capacities that you have, the heart that you have. Sometimes even like, the appearance that you have, the intellect that you have, those types of things that make you right for a very specific situation. And embracing that is your flexibility. Embracing that you are a unique individual that is called for a very specific type of work, and being flexible as to how to meet the needs of not just yourself, but your clients, not just your clients, but your coworkers, not just your coworkers, but your boss, the whole 9 yards, you want to be flexible with in order to be able to create a solid balance there. I'm a big sleepy boy. I'm so sleepy. I've been so tired all week. I'm gonna go to sleep after this. So under destiny and absence, and under our 8 of Wands in the reverse, we have the Hermit, which kind of speaks for itself. There's a time and a place for reconciliation, but it's not right this second. And the way I happen to move these cards is that it's highlighting the 8 of Wands in reverse, the way that he has his lamp here. Normally it's a symbol of his inner wisdom, which is true, but right now it's also highlighting these wands, and I'm also noticing that technically, like, he has his own, his walking stick is also essentially like one of these wands, right? So it's like, when you're being told to wait on the universe for something, that doesn't mean just like stop. It means be patient. Hold true to your passions. Hold true to what you know. Hold true to what you believe. Don't let yourself become dissuaded by any means. The Hermit tends to be a very wise character, right? Recognize your passions and your skills and your desires, ultimately. Or just recognize that we're not acting on them right now, which is fine. It's only for a time. And it's probably just until these hands... The fact that they're like this is so funny to me. I don't really understand that yet. But that's what I'm getting out of it right now, is that, like, perhaps that's just because right now we're a little bit out of alignment. Not even in a bad way. This is part of the destiny. This is exactly how it should be. It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube, right? Where, like, there's certain moves that you have to make where it almost seems like you're offsetting everything that you've done. And you don't want to make that move because, like, it just seems so oppositional to everything you've been working towards. But when you can see clearly at the strategy that's happening, and when you can trust yourself, and when you can, understand the mathematics behind it, you can know that, like, yeah, but then it's just going to be a couple more moves and suddenly everything's going to fall into place. Just such a struggle. I don't know why doing some type of sex work is constantly on my mind, but it is. And also, I guess, because I'm, like, so hard-pressed against relationships right now. I just never saw myself as somebody willing to trade one of my most sacred aspects of myself for money that way. I mean, I've done it though. I've sold pictures of myself and videos of myself, so I don't really see what my problem is. Except that, like, it just doesn't feel like that's what I want to be doing ultimately. But, like, this is also pointing out that, like, we're not talking about what you're going to be doing ultimately. We're talking about being flexible, being willing to accept that, like, right now we're in this period of time and, like, we're not there yet. And that's part of it. Take things at face value for what they're worth. Okay, then we have the Six of Pentacles in the reverse. Underneath our Mount of Luna in the reverse, and that is kind of, yeah, it's kind of a reflection of caring for yourself, prioritizing yourself and your needs. It's one thing to have abundance and to be able to share it with others, but it can also create an imbalance, and it's very important that you are balanced within yourself. And so what that takes is, like, you can give to the poor, and that's wonderful, but you're never going to be able to expect the poor to then pour back into you, right? To give you what you need when you're in need, you know. So it's important that you give those things to yourself. And then finally we have the Seven of Wands. I always call this the Eight of Wands. The Seven of Wands in the upright underneath flexibility. Which, like, that card depicts being defensive, fighting for what one believes in, for one's own passions. But it's almost like fighting against all of these other passions and beliefs. You don't actually even see anybody underneath them. So I can almost picture it as, like, this young boy, like, finding all of these reeds, like a little bundle of reeds, right, that are naturally growing, and, like, plucking one out from them and then using it like a sword to, like, fight off all the other ones. And so they're, like, equal, but it's not even that the one is more valuable than any of them. It's that he's using one to fight the others in order to gain a skill, like a sword play skill. Like, it's not about the reeds at this point. It's about his capacity to be able to indulge in sword play. Listen to me. What the fuck is my problem? Freudian slips. Maybe it's because I'm not having sex all the time. You know, and I would like to be. I've always wanted to be since I was a little girl. I wasn't like other girls. I really wasn't. I remember my friends getting, like, bothered by me because at, like, 5 and 6 and 7 I was, like, sex obsessed, and they were like, we don't even think about kissing boys yet. What are you talking about? I was overexposed to sexuality at a very young age, and it changed me. I can't say that it ruined me. That was wild. My window is closed, and the shade is all the way down, and I saw a giant flash of light and just heard something explode. That was wild. And my roommate has guests, people over. So there's just like a weird vibe going on. But yeah, I was exposed to sexuality very young, like as a toddler. So it kind of just became incorporated into my being, and it didn't destroy me. It didn't wreck me. As as soon as I say that, a bomb goes off. But it didn't destroy me. I didn't let it. You know, most of the people that I knew growing up that had similar things happen to them got into drugs or ended up committing suicide. And they're like still kind of lost. And you hate to see it, but at the same time, like, it's just a reminder to me too, like, how thankful I am that I've had angels and guides looking over me. I mean, I was gonna say, like, that I have my dead dad. I'm so thankful my dad is dead. I'm not, but I did make a joke about that the other day, where, like, at the same time, like, it's because he's dead that he's been present in my life the way that he has. Had he had been my live dad my whole life, I'd probably take up issue with him in a different way, but because he's dead, like, he's not dead to me. There's this memory that lives on. I never even knew the dude, but, like, I've thought about him my whole life, and, you know, cultivated this relationship with his memory that I never had. I'm a daddy's girl, and I never had my dad. But yeah, he's helped guide me. He has helped guide me, but, like, oh God, I've been a pervert my whole life. I really have been. And I really don't think it's all so bad. I was telling my roommate the other night about when I went to my 12-step program. I went to a 12-step program for porn addiction when I was about 20. And 19, 20. And I remember taking my second step. Your second step is when you ask forgiveness. You take inventory, and then you ask forgiveness of those that you have offended with your addiction, those that you've you know, come up against, that you've hurt, that you've damaged in any way, disrespected, whatever. And you also, or maybe, I guess that's between like 3 and 4. Really, the second one is just when you come out to the rest of the people in the group. The first one is you do it like to yourself, and the second one is then you like come out and do it to others, where you're like essentially repenting. You're at least admitting, and in communicating my addiction to a room full of men that were equally as perverted, if not more so, I really didn't know what to expect out of their responses to it, but they honestly gave me more respect than I'd seen them even give to others. And I had several men approach me afterwards to thank me for being so brave. And I remember being like, I didn't always recognize when I was being brave. Yeah, I was scared, and then I did it anyways, but like, it didn't feel brave to me. You know, but like, that's how they had seen it, and they had thanked me for the fact that they didn't realize that women could struggle with the same things that they did, or felt the same ways that they did about things, but it also gave them a woman's perspective on those things. And that's true, just, I mean, I haven't really met another woman at all. I know women that watch porn, but I've never met another porn addict that's a woman. I know some, like, really I know a couple feminists that are like obsessed with nudity. And so porn doesn't necessarily faze them. They look at it as beautiful. But I wouldn't say that they're like a porn addict. Especially not in the ways that I've been. And I know some really like... Did I say feminist? I've known feminist people and artistic people that both like can appreciate pornography, but it's something different for me. It's bad. It's bad. I take it to a bad place. I take it somewhere it shouldn't be. And I guess maybe that's part of my struggle too. Man, I have such a moral dilemma about them things. I don't want to be responsible for some... I mean, I got introduced to porn at an extremely young age, and then by the time I was 12, I was fully addicted to it. I started watching it online when I was 10, and I would not want to be the one responsible for those types of things for children. Then again, I ultimately don't believe I am responsible. There's such a fine line between not letting my brother stumble and not trying to take responsibility away from anyone else just because I can handle it better. When like there's a reward to those things too, and if I'm taking all the responsibility, I'm also taking all the reward, which isn't fair. As much as lazy people would love that, but they don't. They wouldn't love that. You know, a lot of people are not just lazy, they're self-deprecating, so it's then that they're like, I don't even care about the reward. But those aren't healthy mindsets. Those aren't coming from a true balance within oneself. Those are coming from ill-conceived notions of what one's identity is really hinged upon, right? And like, I don't want to validate that for people. So I struggle. I don't know why I'm getting these vibes out of all this, but hopefully this is helpful to whoever's listening. Let's get one more. One more to cover everything. It's been a weird random read. Milky Way in the upright. It's a balance of all things. Things are so much bigger than us. The Milky Way is just one galaxy in a world full of galaxies. And how silly it is to think that certain things that we're doing on Earth could like ultimately affect all of those things. But like it isn't about that. It's because I care so much about Earth. It says that's fine, but that's not where I can be right now. I have to be absent from that part of my destiny because it's causing me to bind myself to things that aren't ultimately serving me. And I'm losing my intuition that way. I'm not, but like I'm moving away from it. It's changing. It's developing into something different, and as long as I'm attached to what it's been, I'm going to miss what it's trying to be, you know, and I need to be open to receiving that. I know sometimes these readings are like really personal, and the way that I talk gets really personal, and that's because I'm obviously taking something quite personal from them. However, I also feel like these are the great opportunities for you to be able to oracle yourself, you know? And I think that these skills actually help people in the long run with a lot more than just, it helps you listen better, it helps you communicate better, it helps you process things differently, it helps you get in touch with your intuition, it helps you do a lot of different things. So I guess I shouldn't be so narcissistic to think that I have it all figured out, in the sense that, you know, I know what it is that anybody can take from these things at any given time, because that's certainly not true at all. I tend to like degrade myself or beat myself up because I feel like I'm not doing enough, but the universe is asking me just to trust it, that it's got a greater plan, that it can handle anything I throw at it. I can take all the pride I want that I've been able to take everything that the universe has thrown at me, but how dare I not consider that that's just the power of the universe through me, and thus the universe can take on everything that I have to throw at it as well. And as long as I remain in that balance, then I can continue to have a healthy relationship with the universe. Because the health of the relationship isn't based on me being perfect. It's based on me being genuine and honest and willing to be flexible. So yeah. I hope that all of this serves you well. I hope you get such nice sleep. I hope you lay down in your bed and feel all comfy and cozy and so nice. And that if you listen to something or watch something while you're falling asleep, that it's nice for you. I had crazy dreams last night. Not really sure why, but I'm fine with it. I hope that your dreams are sweet, though. That they're beautiful and that they're wonderful, and that you wake feeling rested and rejuvenated and ready for a new day. And yeah, I got a lot going on tomorrow, but I will see you tomorrow. I felt like I had something else to say, but I guess not. Okay, good night. Love you. See you in the next video.